87% of realtors that get into the business get out of the business after 2 years. That does not exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
We have interviewed some of the top realtors in the world. If you're a new realtor, a top producer, or CEO of a mega team, Sales Beast Podcast is your blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us to talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm the boss.
Welcome to another Sales Beast episode number 69 with Chris Chopite. Chris Chopite is a dear friend, a dear mentor, and I love working with him on a daily basis. And today we have lots of things that we're going to talk about. But first, I want to kick it off to Chris. Chris, tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Chris Chopite. I'm the Director of Productivity at KW Legacies. I'm a coach. Yes, I do still trade, not as often as I used to, but I still trade. But predominantly, I'm going in the direction of coaching and mentorship and in that direction. Right now, I'm also the founder of the Vaughan Real Estate Advisors and the co-founder of the Vaughan Investors Club, which is an amazing, cool little, I don't want to call it a pet project, but it was a pet project until it kind of really did some really cool things. And so that's exciting as well. So yeah, all in all, that's my summary. I am a father. I'm a 4, married, wife, all that stuff. So I know, Anna, you mentioned that we're going to talk a little bit about how that plays into it, how life balance, that type of stuff, personal and business. So I'll leave that to you to pull when needed. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So 9 years in the business, eh? Is it your 10th year this year?
Yeah. I'm actually 2013. 2013. Yeah. So I'm in it right now, actually 10 years. January of 2013 was when it all began. So yeah, just over 10 years. 7.5 years in sales. And then, right now, probably like 2.5 years in 2.5 years in coaching.
That's awesome. So talk to us about that journey. How did you start?
How did I start what? Real estate? Or
let's talk about real estate, because this is a real estate podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I never wanted to get into real estate because I didn't resonate with the stigma out there of realtors, like, it's just a realtor, the guy on the garbage can, it didn't resonate with me. I didn't want it. I fought it and I fought it and I fought it. And then I was working at an engineering firm, URS Canada, right out of post-secondary, right out of university. I went into the workforce. I worked at the facilities department, and right there I met Haas, right? And Haas already had his license at the time, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta get your license. You gotta get your license." I'm like, "Nah, I don't wanna be in the world with you guys. I'm good over here. Leave me alone." Anyway, so I ended up on the dark side somehow, some way. And really how it happened was I was on a trip to Myrtle Beach. I was reading the audiobooks. I was always into self-help books and knowledge and business, not necessarily real estate, but business. But I went to school for architecture. So, I knew that I can speak house. So, okay, cool. So I shelved that. I'm like, all right, so technically I have the ability to be able to speak house. So, all right. Then I was listening to the audio tape From Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? Not the singer, not studio, not that Jim Collins. So I'm listening to this guy, and he talks about this hedgehog concept thing, and everybody's snoring in the car, and I'm driving, and I'm thinking about this hedgehog concept, and I'm like, man, what could I be the best in the world at? Like, if I put my all in, what can I be the best in the world? And at the time, to be honest with you, I was driving to Myrtle Beach on a vacation for sure, but I was working 3 jobs, so it was like, oh man, like I'm just tired. I'm making $90,000 a year, but that's with 3 jobs collectively. So not cool. Like I'm not happy with that. And I said, okay, so what drives my economic engine? So obviously I didn't want a ceiling. right? I was like, well, what's a job? What's something that I can have, a business that I can open that has no ceiling? Okay, check mark. And then I said, okay, what can I be the best in the world at? And I said, you know what? I could be the best in the world at specifically real estate sales. And what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about people. I wasn't necessarily passionate about real estate per se, but I was passionate about people. So once I put those three circles together, then I literally at that moment, I'm like, I need to do this. I need to get into real estate. Because, with people driving my economic engine and what I think I could be the best in the world at sales, along with my technical experience of architecture and real estate and all that stuff, I said, let me give this a shot. And anyway, so I got my license. And it took me a long time because I was extremely stubborn. It's so funny that the coach was the stubborn one that didn't want to hear it from anybody. So I always thought I could do better. So I wasn't seeking any help. I was like, nah, man, I could do it. And for that reason, it took me a very long time to succeed. It took me about 5 years to consistently break six figures. So I only had about 2.5 years of really good numbers before I'm like, okay, I want to help differently. And I went into coaching anyway, but I'll stick to sales for now. So the trajectory of my numbers, people like hearing this, and it's funny that I remember, but people like hearing this. Like every time I tell agents, this is what it looked like for me. They like it. It's kind of like you almost see like a twinkle in their eye, like a ray of hope, like, oh, I just got to work hard. So my first year I made 28,000. Second year was 58. Third year was just under 80, like 70, 79, 70. Fourth year I made 119. Fifth year I went back down to 98. And then on the sixth and seventh year is when I blew the can off of it, and I just went into, six figures and much higher, and 250 and then 400 and something. Anyway, so, when you see how the compounded effect took place in that moment where it was like nothing, a little bit, nothing, had a little breakthrough, came back down, and then boom, it just took off, right? That's how it all went. That's how it all happened for me. I wasn't really, I'd seek advice when I wanted it, type of thing. But it took me a long time because I didn't have coaching and I didn't have the right mentorship around me. I had business mentorship, but I didn't have real estate mentorship, real estate sales mentorship. So I leaned on my natural ability to be able to converse and sell and just make sure that I treat people good and I take care of them. I'm very territorial. So the minute that a client said, and waved their wand and said, you will be my chosen realtor, then I would become very, very possessive. And that's what allowed me to do good for them, right? I did good by them for them because I was very territorial and I wanted them to feel like they were well protected. So that it worked. It just took me a really long time. It worked. But then I found a new love. But I'm going to stop there. That's my sales. That's my sales story. That's my real estate sales story.
I wanted to ask you something around that too, because I got to witness it, but I don't think I've ever actually asked you about it. And I want to know, like, internally, like, what were you feeling and experiencing when you had to go from that mindset shift of being I'm doing my business, I'm responsible for this, I'm the best in the world, to a place within KW when we're all like sharing, opening everything, sharing listing presentations and like focusing on education and training. So what was that like internally for you to overcome that mindset?
Very hard. Very hard because I think I can do it better than everybody else. When I share, I always think that someone's taking from me because I'm just being very open with you. So I still, even with the 36 touch system, right? When you ask me, can I have it? I'm like, I tense up, but I say yes, because this is, I've made a commitment, right? To be a coach. And if I'm going to be a coach, if I develop new systems, if I if I bust my ass and develop things that could potentially work, because I'm not Albert Einstein, I'm not going to come up with anything incredible, but maybe some things that are going to be better than most. If I'm going to be a coach, then I have to dive right into that. Absolutely, here it is. Then I have to embody that person that wants to help everyone. So it's not in my DNA, right? But I'm rewriting this book. I'm the author here, right? So I'm gonna drive it the way that I want to drive it, right? So and that's called self-discipline. That's just called understanding where I want to go and understanding that there's certain changes that I need to make. And yeah, and I'm still guarded. I'm still guarded. It's always a challenge. But you know what's funny? Here's the analogy, and you're gonna smile because you love my analogies, or so you say. But here's the analogy that I'll give you, right? You know, when people ask me, "Hey, do you want to go out?" I'm like, no, I don't really want to go out. Like, I don't want to get dressed, right? I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to do my hair. I don't want to, But when I get out there, I'm having the time of my life, right? And I'm enjoying life, and I'm like, man, this is good. And there's life happening, and it's incredible. Okay. So, okay, now let's rewind. So what happens when you're like, yeah, 36 type system? In the moment, I tense up. But then something magical happens. Then I become excited to finish it so I can give it to you so that you can see how good it is. And all of a sudden this shift happens, right? In my own body. This chemical reaction is totally opposite. Like, I'm a weirdo, okay? And now I'm just excited to finish it and give it to you. But that moment of you asking was which happens in a split of a second. And that's just because I still have it in me, right? Where I just, I mean, it took me that long. It took me that long. Imagine 7 years of 7.5 years of me just in a box, just me. I got this. And I made it, but it took me a very long time. So now this time around, I'm still going to make it with coaching. I'm not quite there yet. But I'm going to use a different formula. This time, I'm going to bring everybody around me, and I'm going to share every damn thing, and I'm going to apply the new way. So for me, I've been reborn into this coaching thing, to be very honest with you. So, so how did it feel? How does it feel? It felt awfully awkward. It's still a battle, but it's a split of a second battle. And then I go into, oh, this is beautiful. It's nice to be on this side. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
You did.
I have a random question. Back in the day in 2013, before Anna and I were in the business, when someone got into the business, how much money did they want to make? Was it still 100 grand back then, or?
That's the magic number, dude. Ironically, yes. I was like, yeah, if I make $100,000, I'm good.
I still hear that today. Inflation's at 25% a year. The world's crashing, and everyone still wants to make 100 grand. Sure, we can make that happen for you, no problem.
Yeah. No, it's not. It was the same. That was still the magic number. I
heard something somewhat recently. This person, I really respect them and look up to them. They told me everyone has a first year in real estate, and our benchmark, all of us, when I get in, is 100 grand.
Yeah. Sure.
Now, based on your activities and your ability or willingness to buy in the systems and models and model yourself after others that have come before you, that first year can take 6 months, 6 years, or it may never come. Maybe you'll be part of the stack, maybe out of the business in 2 years. Now, it sounds like you didn't follow models. And if we use 100 grand as the benchmark, you got out of your first year at about year 3, which is amazing compared to most people. When someone joins you today and they don't behave the way you behave, and they actually listen to the teachings you provide them and buy in at 100%, how long does it take them to accomplish what it took you 3 years to accomplish?
Look, I haven't been coaching long enough to see it quite yet, but the ones that have dove in, and have said, you know what, I'm going to follow everything. There has been dual career agents that have made six figures. And Anna, you know, you can fact check this, but Mishan, right? Like Mishan, you know, that's a dual career agent that just, he was all in. And, you know, but there's something different about him in the way that he respects time, in the way that he commits himself, in the way that he understands priorities. There's something awfully different about him, like just awfully different. And he has this, I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to do what you tell me. He did everything to a T. All the numbers that he needed to submit, he submitted. And when he didn't, he was like, no, I understand. I'm going to double down on the following week to make sure that I'm keeping up with my numbers. And so Mishan is one of them. And it took him a year. I mean, it was in his first year and he made it. And that's a dual career, Mike. That's a dual career agent. That guy has another job making 150,000 and he still made six figures in real estate.
That's amazing.
So that's one example. Oscar as well. You know, but there's money is cool. Money's nice. Okay. But you know, I'd like to argue that the activities that you're doing are not only for money. I'd like to argue that because, you know, let me give you an example of my life. When I made the most money is when I felt like, man, this is boring now. You know, like I was like, I can't, I don't know, man. I came into KW and I was like, I don't know, like I'm just done with sales. I don't know. I just feel like it's like, you know, I'm not impacting enough. I'm not impacting enough. I kept saying it until Anna and Sandy had a mastermind and they're like, maybe we can, I mean, that's going to come up in a second. But what I'm trying to say here is money is it's important. It's amazing. But I'll tell you something that's going to happen. These guys that I'm coaching and that I'm working with and things like that, the habits that they're building are for a prosperous life. Like forget about money. I'm talking about a prosperous life and more opportunities that may not be commission related. I'm going to be very honest with you. Other opportunities that may make them millions may not be commission related, but because of these habits and because of understanding that these are the things that they have to do to be a business, because every realtor is a business. The longer it takes them to realize that, you know, honestly, it's like they're just going to be out of the business faster. As a realtor, you have to know accounting, you have to know marketing, you have to know branding, you have to know sales, you have to know customer service. You know, there's so many things that you have to do. It's very tough because you're running your own business and the only thing that can get in the way is yourself. Like that's it. The only thing that can get in the middle is yourself. You're the only one that can stop you because you don't have a board of directors. You're a business, but the problem is that if you want to wake up at 11, you can. That's a problem. In a corporation, you cannot show up at 11. You have a board of directors, you have VPs and executives, so they hold you accountable, right? So what I'm saying is this, without diverting too much away from your question, but what I'm saying is, yes, if you stick to the game plan within the year, you should be able to make six figures. And I say should because we can give you all the tools, but if you don't add action, and again, Adam will validate, and in the track program, we say, yeah, we'll give you everything. We're going to give you every damn thing, man, everything. The trackers, the accountability, the training, all the tools, all the toys, all the bells and whistles. If you don't add action, it's a wrap. It's all a game if you don't add action, you know? So now, yeah, you can make the six figures, but I think there's so much more that you learn by, you know, maybe I'm biased, by being in my coaching program and, you know, what we're doing here. I think you learn a lot. I think you learn a lot more than just how to make a commission. Yeah.
I think that's amazing what you said. Anna, I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. When I look at Anna and myself, we had very different objectives when we got into business. I was tunnel vision on money. It's literally all I cared about. And that entertained me for a while and made me feel good. Anna was the opposite.
Yeah.
I can't read her mind, but I saw what she did every day, and she just showed up and enjoyed the work and got better at the work and didn't worry about the money. And there was a point, you could go back and look at previous episodes. I probably looked pretty disengaged on these episodes, and she'd be going tunnel vision on what Gary Keller said and this awesome realtor said. And in my head, I don't give a shit what Gary Keller says. I don't even know who that guy is.
Where's the money? Yeah.
Where's the money?
Yeah.
But that crushed me. I was showing up here and she was flourishing mentally, emotionally, financially. She was getting these opportunities and I was just chasing money. And it was you. And I think I'm pretty good at reading you, and I could tell I was pissing you off by not being interested or able to have the high level conversations you were having. And I was with Sandy once, Anna wasn't there. And I made a comment, why do I need to go to family reunion and listen to what Gary has to say? Never even met Gary. And somehow Anna came up and Sandy, he checked me. He said, you see these things Anna's doing and the amount she's just getting joy out of the work and focusing on getting better at what she does every day. That's going to put Anna in a position where she makes 10 times what you make at some point in the future, Mike. You just don't know it yet. Ding, 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 ding. I need to be more like Anna when I grow up. And everything changed from that moment. It was just that one message. And I think like sounds like me and you were similar when we got in the business.
Yeah.
I'll do it my way. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear about systems models.
Yep.
That's my biggest regret. If I could go back 6 years ago and change something, I would have just listened to this guy, Gary Keller, and all of his disciples. Because it's a freaking game changer. And it makes you so much happier. Because that's when we're all at our best, I would think, is when we're putting in the work and the goal is to get better and grow every day, and you forget about the money. It's a math problem at the end of the day. If you want to make $500,000, what do you need to do to make $500,000? And break it out day by day and forget about the $500,000. Just have fun and take care of the work.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. What would you do if you could go back to 2013 and say do something different?
It was a struggle, but it taught me some things, man. It was setting me up for the role that I have today. And I'm not trying to get all philosophical and all, Mickey Mouse on you, but the reality is that I didn't do it perfectly. So I can use myself as an example of how the long route, you can make it, you can do it your way, but it's just going to take you a little bit longer. Okay. You could do it. So I'm able to use, I'm able to just throw myself, for lack of a better term, I'm able to throw myself under the bus to say, you could do it the way that I did it. Not a problem. It's going to take you 5 years. Or you can get some help and some coaching and some mentorship, and it'll take you 1 to 2 years. You pick whatever time is worth to you. No big deal, right? So now if I had done it correctly, or the way that if I had done it differently, then I wouldn't have had that story, right? All I would have been saying is coaching is great. And then all of a sudden people are like, yeah, you're selling it too much, man. You just keep talking about this coaching. But for me, it's like, no, I'll be honest with you. I had no clue. I didn't want the help. And I did it, but it took me a hell of a lot longer. I lost time with my children. I lost moments. I lost vacations. I sacrificed more than I needed to. Hey, do you want that? Because you can have it. Just, try to do it on your own. Right. So now people are like, like, oh, okay, wait a second. Let me think now. He's not selling me on something. He's just giving me the facts. And that's it, man. I'm a bad salesperson, dude. I tell people all the time, I'm a horrible salesperson, but I'm a badass educator, So when I'm not going to tell you to do anything. I'm going to give you the facts and I'm going to tell you, hey, don't do that. That's going to hurt. Careful there. Why? Okay, let me break that down. Because if that happens, then this is going to happen. And call me Gandalf, okay? But then this is going to happen and you're not going to like the outcome. Oh, okay. Yeah. So if I was in your position, I'd go this route. But I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you this is what I think you should do.
I'm
And
gonna
then
stop you here for anyone listening. This is very important. If you're selling a buyer, a seller, if you're a coach like Chris and trying to sell your clients on the idea of doing something, if you're trying to sell your husband or wife, what you just described is the most powerful tool in sales. Provide information, let them know the pros and cons of each decision they may potentially make, and get the hell out of their way and let them make a decision. You can literally, with what you just described there, assign listings at 90%.
Yeah.
It's like huge, man.
but you got to come prepared, right?
Mhm.
You have to come prepared. You know, asking the right questions. So I had to learn that actually. Even originally speaking with Anna, you know, I'd go on tangents and she's like, dude, you're talking too much. I'm like, okay. You know, so my own asset, right, became my own liability at times when I didn't ask enough questions. But because I'm an educator, I overcompensate with explanations as opposed to asking questions. So there's that fine balance as well, where, you know, I had to learn to ask the right questions, even as a coach, you know, diagnosing the issues, thinking of myself as a doctor so that I can hear what the problem is, so that I can, okay, so I prescribe this, right? So I had to learn all that. And I wasn't necessarily the best at that, you know. And obviously not having any systems and models in the first for all my years, I depended on knowledge, market knowledge for sure. Okay. So I was good there because I enjoyed understanding the systems, understanding what the market was going through and what was happening. My ability to speak house also helped me. When I'm talking, you know, why facing a certain side is better, you know, the foundation, cracks on the foundation, the facades, the front facade, you know, when I'm talking to them about, okay, well, we need to do a reflective ceiling plan, let's see what happens. Okay, that's that wall, that looks like it's, you know, it's probably brick, it's not a veneer, that looks like it's you know, it's not structural, it's a rain screen principle. So what it does is it prevents the water, but there's an air gap in there, and that prevents the water from seeping into, explaining building science concepts and things like that. So I depended on that. I depended on just people are like, oh shit, okay, so he knows a little bit more than most, which makes sense. I went to school for it. I'm not special, I just went to school for it. So I depended on that. So then I had to learn questions and asking questions and listening more than talking. And the whole, you know, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Read into that. So all this stuff had to happen for me, right?
I gotta give you credit though, because you've been so like, just over the past like 2 years of working with you, you've actually gotten really good at that, and like just being really impactful with what you're asking and knowing when to, not that you weren't good before, but just like knowing when to just let people talk and just listen really actively. And so sometimes I'm in conversations, I'm like, wait, what? Chris isn't saying anything. I'm like so confused now, but I understand that you're actively implementing that strategy to make sure that you're listening and getting the information that you need. So kudos to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I see how powerful it could be, you know, and you know, as I said in the beginning, like sometimes we just have to get out of our own way, you know. So that's yeah, those are some of the things that that have happened, that I've implemented, that I've had to learn. And but yeah, that's sales, and of which I don't think I'm good at sales, you know. Like I mentioned to you guys, I don't think sales is what I do well. I think I advise really good, but I don't sell very well, you know. So, but with that in mind, I had a pretty successful sales career, right? So there's the irony. I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's
I
about
find
like,
it so hard to overcome that. It's something I'm trying to get a lot better at. I like my day is just dealing with other people's problems all day, every day, and my natural instinct is to prescribe a solution. I read in this book that you should do this. Oh, I had that experience when I was at the same point in the journey as you're in. I did this. Maybe you should try this. Oftentimes it's not what's best for that person. It's better just to ask questions. And everyone we work with is really intelligent, I think. They'll come up with their own best answer to their problem if we do a good job of asking the right questions. I'm really working on that, and I'm not good at it, but I'm trying my best to improve.
You know, there's I tell my mom this, but I have to be careful, right? Because it's my mom, and I don't want to be, I don't want to be rude, right? She'll just throw a slipper at me, so I got to be careful. But what's the, let me see if you guys know the answer to this. So what's the worst advice, guys? What's the worst advice?
Like anything general, like
Answer how you think you should answer. I don't want to give you too much, but what is the worst advice?
I don't know.
Unsolicited advice.
True.
That is the worst advice. So my mom, love her, but if I'm in a moment where I'm pouring out to her and I'm telling her, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, I'm going through that, then she goes into this, yeah, I remember when that happened to me, and all you have to do is just be calm. And I'm like, son of a, and I'm like, dude, I'm not asking you for advice, man. I'm in a moment right now, and you just have to listen. And if you really give a crap, you'll listen and you'll say, and what did you do when that happened? Have you had this happen before? And how did you handle it before? Okay. So what do you think you can do now? Like that's it. I'm asking you to give a crap about what I'm telling you. I'm not asking you to prescribe me something yet until I say, mom, I don't know, man. I am between a rock and a hard place here, man. What do you think? Ding. That's the open door, right? That's when you walk through it. Until then, just listen. They're not asking you for help yet, So I tell her all the time, I'm like, you know what the worst advice is? You're like, what? Unsolicited advice. She's like, whatever, like that. Obviously, that's not going to go well with her. But I'm telling you, that's it. The worst advice is unsolicited advice because it's going to fall on deaf ears. You're actually going to think you're helping, but you ain't helping because they're not receptive to you right now, man. Their ears are not open. It's when they say, Anna, what do you think? And you're like, well, look, in my opinion, then now they're all like all for you, right? But until that point, they weren't for you, man. They wanted to be heard. That's it. And one of my mentors, Harold Prasad, older gentleman, extremely wealthy. And one of the things he says is every man, I'm gonna make it politically correct in today's day and age, every man and woman has a story to tell and no one to tell it to. And the minute that you become the person, the confidant, that you're listening in to somebody's story and you allow them to share what they want to tell you, you automatically become a best friend. And the trust that builds all on its own. You have to do nothing other than, wow. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden you forge this massive bond with somebody and you don't even say anything because every man and woman has a story to tell and no one to tell it to because everybody's too busy giving unsolicited advice, right? So anyway, that's a little tangent for you. But
You're really good at this. I just read a book. You guys should check it out. It's called The Culture Code. So that book I read, and then there's a follow-up book to that by the same author. If you don't want to read The Culture Code, the guy just breaks out 60 steps to build a strong culture. You just did something there. You did it again right now. You don't know you did it, but you did it. So you're communicating with your eyes, according to the man that wrote this book. And yeah, which according to this person, I believe is reputable. There are thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews on this book. That's far more powerful than communicating, say, with a smile with your mouth. And that shows people, if you're much better at it than me. I already admitted I'm not good at this. But it builds trust a lot faster. ask a question, and then use body language, which is behind you, to show that you're listening.
Key. Body language is absolutely key. It's even more important than in my opinion, than verbal communication.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe there's a stat, and it's 90%. If people are more receptive to 90% of people are more receptive to body language. And there's other things that people say, which is, hey, show me, don't tell me. So that's often something that's used, right? Was like, hey, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Great, show me, don't tell me. Oh, I'm gonna do something. That's fantastic. Show me, don't tell me. Right. So that all comes down to action, body language. And even if we go deeper in that, there's other aspects to it, right? It's how you present yourself, right? When we are representing people in millions of dollars of a transaction, right? Millions of dollars, right? There has to be a way we show up. There has to be a way we show up, I know that on Instagram, people are talking about being experts in t-shirts. I get it. I understand that. And that's totally cool. But there's a disadvantage that you don't think is happening, but it's happening. So body language, also how you show up within the first 10 seconds, people are already asking themselves, should I or should I not trust that person? And they're looking up and they're, okay, well, let me see what he's got. Let me listen in. Right. So, even if a guy shows up in shorts and a tank top, if you show up in a suit and you say, yeah, well, I'm here to represent the sale of your home. It doesn't matter what you look like. I'm here to make sure that I represent the house. Right. So you can come out in a robe if you want, but my job is to be the front facing, and I got you. I'm going to make sure that you look good, right? Right. Even if he's not dressed well, the client, you got to make sure they look good. So that's body language, but yeah, facial expressions, the way that, we communicate with our body, but also how we look. I just want to add that in there because it's going to be part of how I'm going to embark in this new coaching endeavor that I'm taking on. It's going to be more about presentation, speaking skills, and, really making an impact with the way that you warm people up. Right. And I think you can build a lot of trust, and a lot of people can. Here's another one. And you're both going to know the answer to this one. But a high percentage of people that purchase a home purchase it based on what?
What it looks like.
Sure. Emotions, right? Like they look at the home and they're
Okay.
like, yeah, hell yeah, this is nice. I can see myself. Right. So it's the same thing. If they make their decision on a home emotionally, don't you think they make a decision on who's going to represent them emotionally? Something to consider, right? So it's important that we look the part, right? Both for women and men, right? Women have to, respect themselves, right? Because they're business women, and men have to also respect themselves because they're businessmen, regardless of how young you are. I remember when I just got into the business, I had to step into a conference room and say, yeah, marry 2 children. All right, let's get to business. I had to say that because I looked too young. So I had to play that card immediately.
Yeah.
Because then people were like, say what? You? Yeah, me. And then I had to show them a picture. And then they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So I have life experience, but that's not the point. The point is we're here to talk about business. I'm going to show you how we're going to get the most. And boom, off we went. Right. So, it's body language, but it's also, hate to say it, but what you look like.
I've been trying to segue into this, and I think this is maybe the perfect segue, like talking about not only like just adding action, but then also like being able to balance, growing your coaching business, growing your real estate business, and just supporting hundreds of people in their real estate careers. I think it's so easy to make excuses on why we don't accomplish things for ourselves. And so often, like both you and I know this, like we are talking to agents, like we all know this, really. We are talking to agents consistently, and like a lot of the reason why they don't accomplish the things that they want to accomplish is because they set excuses for themselves. So how do you, first of all, how do you deal with that when you're coaching people? And second of all, like, how do you balance your lifestyle between like having a family, having challenges, having things come up consistently, and still being able to do all these things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've done in the past, just recently, actually, Anna, well, you know this, right? I did a presentation on this topic, right? And it was really about managing both sides. And the topic of the presentation was life and business, not or, right? So I mean, they both have to coexist, right? So that was a loaded question, but how do I handle it, and how do I handle agents that are fully loaded with excuses, like fully loaded with excuses, right? And it feels like it's an unlimited resource of ammunition and that they just is excuses left, right, and center, and so how do I deal with those folks? I'm going to be honest with you. I took it very personal in the beginning stages of my coaching endeavor, very personal, because I'm like, man, what the heck am I doing wrong? Why don't they get it? But in the same way I started the conversation and I mentioned about Mishan and how he had great success, sometimes they just get it and sometimes they don't. Okay. Now, what I realized is that something drastic has to happen in someone's life. And very often it's out of the coach's control and out of the their advisory committee. It's out of our control. Something bonkers has to happen that sets them off, and they're like, and it's like this paradigm shift of a moment that they're like, oh my God, I see it now. Like, and sometimes you just have to, as a coach, you have to run right beside them the whole way until they have that moment. And then you just see the light and then you're like, oh, you got it now? Good. All right. Now we can speed up. And then you start running faster. But they're going to go at their pace, dude. And I started to realize that they're going to go at their pace because they experience life through certain set of filters. And there are cultural filters. There are friendship filters. There are self-believing filters, whatever that happens as you're growing up when you see certain things. So there are limits of how hard they can work, and their tolerance for pain may not be built as good enough as it needs to be in order to have success in any business, much less in real estate, where, like I said, you have to be a marketing director, you have to be an accountant, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a customer service manager, you have to be a salesperson. You see what I'm saying? So there's so many things at stake here. Like there's so many things that are coming at you, right? That if you don't have a high tolerance for pain and you're not able to stick to the game plan, even though you're like hyperventilating and you're like, nope, this is what I said I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do it, right? So what I tell the folks that are constantly coming up with excuses is sometimes I have one-on-one meetings with them. I try to pull them aside and share some harsh realities with them. And ultimately I just tell it like it is. Like if you don't buckle up and start doing the activities that you need to do and start showing up, you're going to flunk out of real estate. Okay. And that's not a bad thing. But what I love is that in my program, we're able to get to that much quicker. So we're able to locate a diamond, and we're able to locate the people that perhaps don't have that ability to push through pain to get to what they want and to get to where they want, because it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. So I just tell them some harsh realities. Hey, listen, like, the world is too big to give a crap about your little mistake, your little things, like your feelings, right? You're thinking too much about yourself. It's not really about you. It's about everybody else, and how can you impact people? Like, get out of yourself. And once again, you're in your own way. You're getting in your own way. And then I share also, okay, so this is good because I will merge into this topic. I share some battles that I've had to face to kind of let them know that although others have gone through higher levels of difficulties in terms of challenges, I share some challenges that I've had to go through and that I've had to essentially remind myself that, oh, this is a perfect plug. Failure is not an option. right? You gotta, the only option is to succeed, right? Not for you, but for your family and for the people that come after you and for everyone you want to help and for your colleagues and for everybody around you, right? It's good to succeed because then you can do so much more around you and impact the world, obviously, in a much better way. So what I have done in moments where, for example, I did the presentation, yes, and ultimately the presentation was how I managed the tough task, okay, of supporting my wife through breast cancer, while developing a coaching business in parallel. Okay, so it was very trying at the time, and I did everything you could think of that a human would do. I cried, I asked why me, I did the walking thing, I did all types of stuff to try to figure out, okay, like, how do I get myself out of this one now? This is new. And it changed the entire process of how we operate at home with 4 children. And then my wife under the weather, okay, let's put it nicely. There was a formula that I shared in the presentation, which one of it was to separate myself from the moment and have a moment. I remember, like, within 2 weeks of finding out that she was, stage 3, almost stage 4, it was like I needed to just separate myself from everything that was happening around me. And I'd go for walks, and that's when I do my crying. That's when I do my asking God, like, why me? Why I deserve this? It's all that stuff that you do, right? And so I did all that, and I just let myself go. Cool. But then I brought myself back to the table, and I'm like, all right. So the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation, okay? So let's figure this out. And I treated it like a stinking business plan, man. I'm like, all right, so what's first? Piece of paper, pen, let's go. Calendar, let's go. So what's up? What do we have to do? Oh, well, in college, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, with that. Okay, what date? Okay, good. All right, so I'll take Z in that time. Okay, I'll drop off the kids. All right, ask my mom to do that. I'll come here. Okay, don't worry. Oh yeah, I'll take you to that appointment. I'll come back. I have a meeting at that time, so it's okay. I'll get it. I'll do it in the car. Okay, and then just planning the whole detail, the whole situation. It was all planning. And I had to take my emotional self out of it and just remind myself that, man, it's not about me. Emotions are overrated. Get over yourself, dude. If you even stand a chance to get past this, you need to be a damn rock. And that goes for every issue in life, for every issue. Financial issue, someone passed away, your mom, your dad, your uncle. Yeah, I know it sounds heartless, but this is the truth, man. People are going to die. People are going to die. Okay. We're all limited with the time that we have here. So my suggestion to everybody is put your feelings aside, right? And focus on what you can do to make an impact regardless of your situation. That's how you really show your strength. Mm-hmm. And at the time that I was coaching, man, one of the hardest things was closing the door. And it's like, all right, listen, feelings, sorry, y'all got to stay outside for now. Okay. We'll come back to each other. But right now, the track team needs me to show up strong. So we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to frown. We're not going to move. We're just going to go forward, high energy, keep the pace up. And you're here to inspire and motivate people. Get your shit done. You took on that responsibility, so handle it. Right. And having these conversations with myself. So, that's some nuggets in terms of how I did it. Obviously, the presentation went into more depth. I do have a formula that I use to get past this. But, all in all, man, like your emotions and what you're going through, someone else is going through a lot worse. And to be honest with you, those are the things that if you don't make it, you'll always go back to those things and say, oh, I didn't do it because my goldfish died. And you'll just use them as excuses, right? And I refuse to use my wife's diagnosis to say, oh, well, I failed in coaching because fill in the blank. No, not here. Sorry, wrong place. Go find somebody else. So that was my approach. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
That's
sharing.
powerful.
That's
I'm-
so, go ahead.
Me and Anna are talking about you behind your back right now, in the chat. I feel like this episode's just heating up right now. And we've never done this with anyone before, and I know you're super busy, so the answer can be no, but I would love it if you would come back and give that presentation and keep this going. Like, relatively soon, if you guys are all willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
We all do that. We all come up with excuses as to why we couldn't do something. I've never had an excuse as significant as the one you just described. So whatever system you have to overcome that excuses is very significant, very real. If myself and all our people listening can take that and apply it to their excuses that I imagine are very small relative to that, I think it'll change a lot of lives.
Mhm.
Yeah, gladly, man. Of course. I mean, yeah, it'd be an honor and a pleasure. Yeah, we'll figure it out for sure.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the podcast. I know that we
Thank
all
you for
have to
having
go
me.
here, but we're gonna answer the next question on the part 2 because
Done.
I have a couple more questions. Thank you
Okay.
for showing up today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. All right, I'll see you soon.
Wow, Anna, I don't know about you, but I am so blown away by Chris. I've known him, but I did not know that about him.
I feel so grateful to be in his world. And like, I know we wanted to dive even more, but we did run out of time. So we're going to be shooting a part 2 to our episode, just focused on not making excuses for yourself. So for those listening, stay tuned for part 2 coming out soon.
Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day